By the way, before we get started, do me a favor, just throw into the chat prime or sub. And what I want you to say is, do you have prime contracts already? Or are you kind of at the subcontract level, or are you new? Just let me know in that chat. I kind of like to know who's coming in to the training, what levels you're at. It helps me prepare the next trainings, like which one should I choose? Okay, so let's get started talking about today's topic, right? How to get invited to subcontract on a team with other government contractors. If you haven't heard me say this before, I teach that there are 3 ways to make money in the federal market. You can subcontract under small businesses, meaning they have the prime contract with the government and you are subcontracting under them, bringing up expertise or a piece of work that they can't do, or they just agree to share it with you. That's subcontracting under a small business. The second revenue stream that you can get from the federal dollars that are out there is prime contracting directly with the federal agency. So this is you having that contract with the federal buyer directly. And then the third revenue stream is subcontracting under large businesses. Basically, this is anybody over, let's say, 50 million. But when I say large businesses, I generally am talking about the billion-dollar companies. There's a bunch of quote-unquote large businesses or officially large businesses that are in this middle area. But I'm really trying to distinguish the difference between the people who know what it's like to be you and are small businesses and really understand that. And even companies doing 40, 50 million, they still totally get it. And then large businesses where the owners are long gone, decades gone, right? And it's a machine. But those are 3 revenue streams, and subcontracting is in there. And subcontracting under a small business, prime contracting, or subbing under a large, those 3 revenue streams are just as important to a brand new business that just got started yesterday, as it is to a company that's been around a little while, doing 20, 30 million, as it is to a billion-dollar company. Billion-dollar companies come out and will work with a smaller business when it makes sense and subcontract under them. It's a way for them to get access to an agency. It's a way for them to get access to dollars that they didn't have access to before. Keep in mind, there's about $700 billion spent through contracts every year, and about 150, 170 of it is set aside for small businesses are winning those as a prime contractor. Well, that large business can pick up a pretty good bit of revenue if they have a plan to go after teaming relationships with small businesses. So what I'm going to teach you today is equally important to whether you're brand new or very experienced. The only difference is what you're able to do and how fast you're able to do it. You can definitely get on teams. I want you to understand that. If you're coming into the government contracting space, you can absolutely get on teams. In order to get on the teams, you just need to make it worth their while. And that's what I'm going to teach you today, is how to make it worth their while and how to begin to pursue that. So let's go ahead and get started into my slides here and talk about how to get invited onto those teams. Today's training, I'm going to break it up into 3 areas. And these 3 areas are, first, be attractive. And what I mean here is, and I'll talk more about it, but you need to add value to the team that you're trying to get on, that prime that you're trying to get on. And the second thing I'll talk about is, if you want to increase your chances of getting invited on a team, you need to be findable. When they're looking for somebody like you, that you're findable, you're visible. Look at that, left my phone on. And then the last one is be proactive. In this last section, I really want to give you tips about how I do this. If I'm getting into a large, like next week, I say, I want to get into a large business. I want to start pushing in, see how I can get on a team. And not like I'm going to get on the team next week, but I'm going to start next week. I'm going to tell you how or what I do, not just how I do it, but I'll give you specific examples of what I do. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I'm the co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I'm super excited to have you here where I can share my tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of that process is showing up to this training over and over again. Another part is subscribing to our newsletter. In our newsletter, you'll be able to see all sorts of tips. Almost everything I put out is actionable, meaning you can read it and it's not just for your knowledge, but you can then do something with it. We really try to make it so as if we're working for you. Anytime we do something in the newsletter, we're thinking to ourselves, how can you action on this? Last thing I want to mention is just we're going to have training next week. I don't have them out there scheduled yet. I usually schedule them over the weekend. But make sure you watch for it. We had almost 200 people register for today's training. And that's a fantastic opportunity for you to be able to network with others, for us to grow our community. The larger our community is, the more we attract federal buyers who want to reach you. So I kind of am the conduit, if you will. And we all work together, though, to bring you what you want to see. I did want to do one side note. I'm just not feeling well. So if I'm a little off for you today, it's not the camera. It's just me not feeling well, and my energy is a little off. But the content is really good. And there were so many of you who registered and are attending the training. I didn't want to miss it, but the content is really solid. Just my delivery might be a little tweaky, but that's okay. I did want to congratulate the newest companies to the 100 Club. These companies, Hank Foster Incorporated, App Diction Studio. I'd love to actually talk with you more and go, how do I pronounce that more properly? And then GD Resources, these bottom three. I'm super excited because not only are they on the 100 Club, but they just pushed us to 25 or more. So next week, I'm going to push these 27 companies out to my 32,000 connections on LinkedIn saying, these companies are fully visible to federal buyers. Come check them out. You can learn more about that on GovCon in a Box. It's a tool set that we stood up. It's no cost, but you're able to go in there and get your federal visibility score up to 100. Out of a score of 1 to 100, right? You want to get it to 100. And when you do, it means you're as fully visible to federal buyers as you can be. So congratulations to those three newest companies that are in there. Okay, so let's dive into having or being attractive. And what we mean by this is attractive. Usually when we say this is you want to be findable and attractive. Attractive is you're matching the search intent of the person, in this case, a prime contractor. If the prime contractor is looking for a business like yours, it needs to be really easy for them to see that you are a fit for them. And so if they're searching for cybersecurity, for example, how you describe yourself really points out that you're a cybersecurity firm. And so that's what we mean when we say be attractive. The first thing that's important to keep in mind here is that you need to be niched down, have a clear, focused offer. When I was preparing this training, I actually didn't do it for all primes. I really tried to think, how could you get in a team with a large prime? These bullet points that I'm going to share related to a large prime are applicable to a company doing 5 or 10 million. They too would value what I'm about to tell you, but absolutely larges value this. I've done multiple trainings on this. I've done interviews with larges where they talk about what they want from you and what they need from you. But when we talk about, in this particular point, having a niche, what it means is don't come in and say you do everything. They're a large business and they don't do everything and they know it. More importantly, on a particular contract, they can sit there and say, hey, we can pretty much do all this. We're trying to find the best company, small business subcontractor, who will join our team and enhance our team. Can you bring something they need or something they don't want to do so they can focus elsewhere? But it needs to be clear. Like when they see it, they go, oh, I get what you do. You do risk management framework, or you do elevator services. Perfect. We're building out a whole new hospital campus, but we don't want to do the elevators. We'll give that to you. You know what I'm saying? So a clear niche that makes it easy for them to see where you would fit into their team, into where their company's going, and on an opportunity in that opportunity. The next one is, in order to be attractive, you want to have past performances. If you're just getting started out and you're connecting, let me make sure I'm sharing. Sorry, just making sure I was sharing. It wasn't sharing. You want to have past performances. Large primes in particular are looking for you to be able to come in and have experience doing what you're doing. Even if they can't use your past performances with the government to win an opportunity, they can use your past performances to validate that you are getting paid. You are good at your niche. That's really important. And for newer companies, if you're trying to sub with a small business, you can be looking at commercial opportunities as well. Any past performance begins to show that you're being paid for your expertise, your niche. The next thing is have a proven set of proven processes. This is in your background. How do you staff up, right? Large prime brings you onto their team. They want to know you have an approach, a process for finding talent and recruiting them, attracting them, finding them, and then hiring them, getting them on board. What's your process? What is your process around sales, around business development or capture? They want to see that you have processes, and these lend to you demonstrating you have organizational maturity. All of us, when we start new businesses, our companies are completely immature. Our tools are immature, totally fine, right? That's the whole journey. But when you're really trying to attract a large in particular, they want to see this organizational maturity. And sometimes it's defined in the processes. Other times it's defined in the certifications you have, like ISO or CMMI if you're software development. And then other times it's defined in the tools you use. Are you using Excel to track your accounting, or QuickBooks, or are you using some more advanced tools? When they look in, they want to know if they bring you on their team and they're working with you, that you're not going to have disruption back here in the back office that's going to interfere with your ability to go forward. Another example of organizational maturity is your financial stability. I had a large prime, you can go back and watch the video. They talked heavily about this, about we need to make sure that a small is able to last 60 or 120 days without getting paid, right? No one wants that. But what a large is concerned about is sometimes that does happen. Do you have financial instruments in place that allow you to get through that period so that you can pay your employees, and your employees who are working with the large don't, look for another job? And the last one I have here on being attractive is have what they need. Sometimes this is called agency intimacy, an understanding of an agency. That's something that's really attractive to a large, especially if you know they're trying to get into the Air Force or this command or that department, right? If you understand that agency, that's really attractive. Even more attractive is if you have established relationships with, maybe the contracting officer in Small Business Pro, but especially if you have relationships with program office personnel. And so this is important for you to pay attention when you're going in to team with somebody. Understand what will make you attractive to them. Sometimes people describe this as like value proposition. That's too much thinking. That's like an MBA. Really, you just need to sit there and answer the question, what's in it for me on their behalf? Imagine that the large prime is looking at you during a meeting or as they're building the relationship, and they're asking themselves, what's in it for me? What's in it for my company, Booz Allen or Boeing or something, right? And you want to be able to communicate. Hey, don't over communicate. You don't have to. You don't have to over promise. Hey, we're in this department and we know these people. We're talking with them. Look at our slides. This demonstrates our organizational maturity, et cetera. When you do that, you're going to be attractive to a company, and you increase the chances of them inviting you to join their team and participate. The next one I really want you to pay attention to, if you want to increase your likelihood of getting on a team and getting invited to be on a team, is you got to be visible, right? People buy from those they know, like, and trust. If you are not visible, you are not known. Forget about like and trust, right? We need to make you visible so that you can be liked and trust. And so I put in here the federal visibility score. And if you remember a minute ago, I was talking about those companies that hit the 100. If you come in, you can go to number 2, but I'm going to go to number 3 here. Find teammates. This is our tool that we put in place, and going and checking out the teammates, that's all free. But in here, if I come in and I look at the companies, there's 360,000 small businesses currently selling to the federal government. That's the pool right now. And if I scale it down, I say, just show me companies that are 100. I just went from 360,000 down to 27. A big part of being findable is having the keywords, et cetera, in DSBS so that when somebody searches for you, they find you. Now, there's a lot of companies that sit in this range of, let's say, down to 70. But if I click that and I say, show me 70 above, it's still 2,000 companies out of 360,000 are visibility score of 70 or above. We say if you're 70 and below, you're invisible. And you can see this, right? You don't need me to kind of keep showing. So make sure you go into Go in a Box, free. Go in there, find out what your visibility score is, click on the score. I tell you exactly what you need to fix, and I give you a little video on each one of them in case you don't know how to do it. It tells you how to go fix this thing. So many people have gone from a very low score, like 9 or 28, up to highs like 100. And so when you do that, part of doing that is making sure that DSBS, the Dynamic Small Business Search Tool, is fully filled out. Your form, that supplier portal, is complete. It is the most important marketing asset in federal government contracting for small businesses. The Dynamic Small Business Search Tool. This is where larges go. It's where smalls go. It absolutely is where federal buyers go. Federal buyers, when they're doing market research, that's a formal process. And DSBS is the only tool that they're encouraged to go look at, right? And they say, go look at all these others, including DSBS. And so it's the only one that's pointed out. This tool takes you 2 seconds to get in, but when you're in, now you're in the #1 supplier portal of the government. Speaking of supplier portal, for larges now coming back, large prime contractors, let's use Boeing as an example, they have their own supplier portals. So many of them actually might not be as familiar with DSBS, but they're familiar with the internal tool. Hey, here's Boeing's supplier portal. If you're looking for somebody, come here and then go out. Boeing, as an example, I was talking to one of the supplier or small business folks over in Boeing, and a couple of years ago, but it's still the same thing. And I was asking her about, well, how many buyers do you have? They have over 14,000 buyers that she and her team support. And that's how many people are out looking for suppliers to Boeing, right? Not all of it is federal contracting, right? Limit that down a little bit, but still they go into their supplier portal, the Boeing supplier portal, to go look. Large primes have these, agencies have these. HHS, for example, has this. They have their own supplier portal. So make sure you figure out who you're trying to target and get in their supplier portal. So now you're increasing your visibility. Last thing about being findable, think about findable, right? When somebody is searching, when you search for a plumber, a person to cut your hair, or where to buy a new car, or whatever it is, when you search for stuff, typically you go to Google or Bing or whatever. And how you search, that literally is how a large or a teammate would search for you, or how government would. And LinkedIn is one of the best places for you to be visible in there. It's the professional network, right? Larges are on there, agencies are on there. And so you get into your LinkedIn profile, make sure it looks good, right? The clean basics, and I'm not here to talk about that, but also make sure you're communicating your capability statement. Put that into LinkedIn, both as a PDF and also as the text into the about section. When you do this, then you're able to come up when people are looking. I talk to larges all the time, and I ask them all the time, how do you find smalls? I'm constantly trying to research for you so I can give you advice on, be here. They're all looking over there now. Let's all run over there. And so they talk about, well, one of the places I go is LinkedIn because I'm on there anyways. And so I go to LinkedIn and I might type in RMF and see who comes up, or RMF hub zone if I'm looking for a hub zone, things like that. So get into LinkedIn and increase improve your profile so you look, you're findable. Okay, we're moving at lightning speed. Let me talk about what I do. I got to start having Starbucks before my meetings more. It's better. Okay, so in this last part, I want to talk to you about being proactive, right? Don't wait for people to come out. Help them come to you. I have this phrase I like saying that if you take responsibility, you will have control. Not blame, responsibility. So if you take responsibility for you and the prime connecting, then you will be in control of making that happen. Compared to if you say that prime has the responsibility for finding me, etc., then all you can do is sit back and wait for the prime to find you. Wait for them to improve their processes. Wait for them to do whatever as you sit here. But if you take responsibility, then you can sit there and say, okay, what can I do? And here are some things you can do. So the first thing I want you to think about when you're thinking about a large prime, you really want to determine the goal, not a large prime, but any prime that you're trying to get on their team. First thing is determine your goal or your purpose. Who are you trying to meet? Are you trying to meet a large out there? Are you trying to meet a small? Are you trying to meet a large or a small on a particular vehicle? Are you trying to meet a teaming partner in a particular agency? Teaming partner does a particular type of work that maybe is complementary to yours. Determine your goal, because that will focus your energy when you're out there trying to do some things that will build those relationships that will lead to where you want to go. So let's say my goal is I want to get in and build a relationship with Booz Allen so that I can then start working with them, right? Hopefully I build relationships, I get in, I start figuring out what's important to them, and eventually that turns into me getting invited to a team. It's not going to happen without my effort, for sure. And it's not going to happen without a lot of effort, but this is the effort that I would do. So the second bullet is the first thing I want to talk about. If I'm looking at Booz Allen, the first thing I'm going to do, since I'm a government contractor, is I'm going to go in and look at their contract vehicles, and I want to find their program and contract manager. And I'm going to try to show you as many of these as I can. Contract vehicle. Hopefully I did this really fast. So here we go. I got contracting, and I think this is good enough. I might have picked the wrong one. Let me see if I can get them both open. So what I'm looking for is Booz Allen. That's where I said I want to go. And I'm looking for contract vehicles. So this one here, it's contracting. It's not quite what I wanted. So, oh, here we go. Good. So down here, I'm seeing vehicles. And this is the important, let me Let me go here. This one's better. So in here, I just went to 𝗚𝗲𝗟𝗀. All I typed was contract vehicles and name of the company I wanted to get to. If they're a large, what I'm trying to find are program managers or contract managers who may be open to talking with me, or I can follow them for a little bit and engage with them to then get on their radar, to maybe meet them at an event or something, and then begin to take it farther. So you decide what speed you do. But here, if I look at some of these schedules, let me just see. These are not the best ones. These are all just GSA. But if I just take GSA, hopefully it'll work for me. Let me scroll down. Hold on a second. Come on. No, that one didn't work. You would think I'd have these a little bit more ready. So how about a GWAC? Come on. So if I come in here and I look at this vehicle, and hopefully it just has it. If I'm coming in, I can come down and see in here that this vehicle, it's Alliant, right? If I'm looking at this vehicle, I'm instantly able to find people who are running this. Here's a senior contract administrator. Here's the program manager, right? And this guy I actually happen to know of and have interacted with before on customers. He's super nice, right? He's not going to work with everybody, but if you're a fit and if it makes sense for him to fit, then he's going to try to build more and more relationships because he wants to make sure 𝗚𝗲𝗟𝗀 has got the best relationships out there to help them. But that's the first thing I would just mention doing, right, is pursue the contract vehicle, program managers and contract administrators or contract managers. These are the people who run these billion-dollar vehicles. They might make introductions for you down to program managers on different major task areas. So that's one area. The second way is I can target POCs on LinkedIn. And so think about, POCs are, let me see what this one is. POCs are point of contact, right? So here, if I just search, let me try this. Hey, so I'm just going to type this really fast, business development. Let's try that. So it's going to come up. I'm going to look really quick for people. So I'm going to click on the people. I'm moving fast just to show you. I'm going to come over here and say current company, and I'm going to add in Booz. Come on, Booz. Booz Allen Hamilton. And I'm going to say show results. So I typed business development. I've got 4,600 results. And without me going too far into it, right, I can begin to find Bob. He's a business development executive. Victoria's senior associate business development operations. I can begin to find these people. And this is 4,600 people to start. So if I'm trying to build a relationship, I can look on LinkedIn and find a bunch of these people. And then I can begin to figure out, well, these ones go into the agency maybe I want to go into. But you can start with LinkedIn to find all those people. The next tip, and I'm running out of time, the next one I want to give you is very important. If you want to connect with large primes, go where the large primes are. If you want to connect with small businesses, go to Navy Gold Coast, for example. Navy Gold Coast is next week or the week after next, and that is basically a small business event. And so in there, all the people from the Navy or from the larges or the smalls, everybody's going to be small business related. But when I want to get into Booz Allen or I want to get into an agency, then I will go to the Air Force conference, for example, down in Florida. And down there, it primarily is the Air Force talking to the Air Force with industry kind of around. This is where the larges go to engage with the colonels and generals out there and the movers and shakers in the Air Force. This is where the larges want to go. That's where I'm going to go. I want to go to the conference that the business developers and the capture people are going to, and they are going to the Air Force conference, not a small business conference. So know the difference depending on who you're trying to meet. The last thing I wanted to mention here about proactively reaching out, and you're looking at these relationships. If I'm looking into Booz Allen, right, and I've got 6 degrees of separation, understand what that means. 6 degrees of separation means I want to go meet the President of the United States, right? Currently President Biden. I want to meet President Biden. Every single one of us is 6 degrees away from him, meaning I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows him, right? And so when you're trying to get into an agency, when you're trying to get into a company like Booz Allen, understand that if you focus on 6 degrees of separation and you begin with the end in mind saying, I want to meet the CIO of Booz Allen or something, then you just start working your way through. You build the relationships, you're moving forward. This kind of activity is kind of the long game, right? We're not here to teach get rich quick. It's the long game. But when you do this and you understand 6 degrees of separation, you can start taking those 4,600 people you found in LinkedIn and begin to connect the dots and build a relationship, not just with an individual, but with the organization. Okay, so let me give you a couple of things to just remember. First thing is have a very clear niche. This is what we do. My last company, it was SharePoint. We could do all sorts of things, but we were SharePoint. We just said we were SharePoint, and they called us the SharePoint guys, right? That was great because whenever they had SharePoint, they put us in. They knew where we fit. Second thing is be where they look. I told you about DSBS, supplier portals, be where they look. Get your LinkedIn updated. The last one is be persistent. Don't just get out there and start slow and go, it didn't go anywhere. Give yourself 12 months to hit the goals that you want around relationships, not 12 minutes or 12 days. Give yourself the time and then put the work in. You will develop the relationships that you're looking for.